So this is such a vast, sprawling film that takes place over several years, several different locations, over 100 speaking roles. How do you begin to make it comprehensible?
Well, fortunately, Mark Bowl did that in the script. It's a tight and good script, very followable, very exciting to read, actually. I think you find the through line, you find the thing that's most important. In our case, it was telling the story through Jessica's character Maya's eyes, which the script does, and that's the horse you get on, and you focus on that and try to make it interesting the whole way.
For a movie like this, as big and as sprawling as it is, Mark had a very focused and clear idea of what story he was telling, and for us, it's just trying to do justice to that and then heighten those moments, make those moments as clear as possible. Oh, you're telling a story, a dramatic story, but it's really, you want to make sure the story's about the people, because that's what I think is interesting. You know, it's the depth of Jessica's character that's really the glue that holds it all together. So you're trying to keep your eye on both those things. You know?
As I was watching the film for the second time, I was paying a lot more attention to the pacing of it. And I was amazed to find that it's 2 hours into the movie until they even go on the mission to hunt down bin Laden. How do you sustain tension for 2 hours, you know, before you even get to the climax there?
Electrodes in your seat.
You know, there's the story of how they get there, and that's what and are they going to? And even though you know the result, it's our job as editors to keep that question up in the air, to pretend that the audience doesn't know what's going to happen, and doesn't know that they're going to find them. But it's the tension of how they found them, because that's the story that no one knows. And you know, then as an editor, you're finding moments to join a scene in the middle, leave the scene early, to keep the tension at a height, and then go to the next thing. So you don't let things have a beginning, middle, and end. You keep things high, and then you keep going, and then that helps generate the pace. But it's the attention to the detail of what all these characters were doing and what all these CIA operatives were doing. That's what really, I think, holds the tension.
And there's an underlying tension in the story that even if we know eventually they're going to catch him, are they going to be able to find the guy through his cell phone? And you know, just there's lots of procedural moments where we try to highlight that.
I mean, the script really lent itself to adding the tension of, you know, the time is marked in the script by terrorist attacks. You know, you see a date on the screen, you know this is something bad's going to happen. You know, so it's, can we find them before the next one? And I think that you see that in the characters, and you see that in their faces. And the script added a layer of tension because, you know, can we find them before the next explosion, the next terrorist attack? So that lent itself to, you know, that added a lot of tension just on its own. So
A built-in ticking clock.
Yeah.
That was just part of reality.
I thought it was interesting how the film was divided almost into sections with a sort of chapter heading at the beginning. Was that something that was in the script originally, or was that a decision that you made in post as a way of making it more comprehensible? Can you talk about that a bit?
Mark came up with the chapter headings, Mark Bowl, in post. We had been talking about ways to break down the movie and sort of give chapter headings and signposts, and we didn't want it to be dates, and we didn't want it to necessarily be related to Maya's life. But that conceit was something that Mark threw out some halfway through the editing or something, and it changed and moved, but it stuck. It really was helpful as a structuring device.
Right. How is it working together? You know, how do you divide the workload? Were there huge arguments over certain things? You know,
Tooth and nail.
we're just recovering from our wounds. We've been talking a lot about this. Fortunately for the movie and for us, we had similar mindsets in terms of our style of editing, and the editing should be invisible, and it should be about the story and the characters. And we also had similar points of view about what the movie should be, and story-wise, and Dylan had all the scenes broken down by scene cards with a still frame of each scene in the movie, and it was all up on the board. So because it's such a vast movie, it was easier for us to get a overall, like, one glance, this is the movie. And we were constantly just like saying the same thing at the same time. Well, this should go, or this should go here, or we should try this. And so it was easy working together because we saw the movie the same way. And so it just helped.
And great to have a guy down the hall who you go, and we did this a lot. Hey, you know, I just did this, haven't shown it to Catherine yet. What do you think of this? Do you bump on that? Does that make sense? Do you miss that? And just knowing that we generally see things the same way, and super helpful.
Were there ever any huge issues over the length of the film?
Not once.
Surprisingly, you know, the first cut was long, but not fall out of your seat long. It wasn't an Oliver Stone movie. It wasn't, it wasn't 8-hour rough cut. It was, maybe with all the scenes in it, maybe 340. And it was a long script, and there was an insane amount of footage and a lot of information, very dense movie, stuff coming at you all the time. And like Billy was saying, we sort of knew from the beginning. We had our opinions, and Catherine had her opinions of things like, I don't want this in the movie, this we don't need, let's just go from that to that. This section, there's a middle section that it was just so clear, this just wants to be 12 minutes. Now it's 38. It just really just wants to, we've got to get through it. And once things started to fall away, the movie just kept your attention. You usually go through a period where you're going, this part is still too bloody long, and we keep hacking away, but the plot is requiring we keep it. Or this movie, and it's a testament to the script and to Catherine's sort of energetic style of shooting that we, I don't know, I don't remember a period where we fretted about the length of the movie. Once it got down to sort of, this is a movie, it was like, yeah, this is too long, that's still too long. There are sections, but it played.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. I've worked on movies that are 90 minutes long that felt longer. So yeah,
Yes.
it's I mean, I think Paul Newman. It's like a movie. It's how you fill the time. It's not the length.
Yeah, if you're keeping people's attention, it's a chunk of time to sit and watch a movie. But if you're hopefully engaged the whole time, then we're not doing anything wrong.
Was there anything that you had to lose that you didn't want to lose, just for the greater good of the movie?
There were some interesting scenes that if you buy the DVD, you'll see the DVD extras. Yeah, there were some good scenes, but I think
There are some bits,
I mean, I guess we said to Catherine, we didn't take any scenes out because they were bad.
Right.
We took out scenes to serve the greater good, to focus the story. Like things maybe there were redundancies in one scene to another, so we chose what was the better of the two, or maybe combined a little bit of one to another, because just to have a cleaner through line. But it wasn't because anything. Well, this is terrible. Take it out. Everything was good. The performances were first rate and everything, and Catherine's direction and the writing all good. But it was more, we're telling this story, telling this part of the story twice instead of once. So, in redundancies will bore the audience. So we took it out to streamline, but nothing where, I mean, there may be a line here and a line there, but nothing where we're like, oh no, nothing like that.
And what's the feeling once it's done? Or is it ever done for you? I mean, do you still wish that you could go back and add some stuff in, cut some stuff out?
You always have that feeling, on movies in general, because they're so complex, so big. You always, there's a cut, there's a thing, there's a moment, there's a bit, there's a sound thing. You always want to, I wish we had gotten to do that. This movie is so dense, there's so many things, but at a certain point, I know for me, I'm starting just to pull back and go, okay, this is what it is. The ship is sailing away, and it's a nice feeling to have people get it and to have people respond to it. It's is there more stuff to do? Are you always constantly working to make improvements on your house? Yeah, but at a certain point, you're pretty happy to live in it.
I couldn't say it any better. No, truly. I mean, we're really proud of the movie, but I think as editors are perfectionists, and so I think that making any movie I've ever done, I'd be happy to make it one more pass.
10 years later, you watch it on cable, and you go, oh, we never did fix that. I wish I knew we should have said something.
You remember that? I remember that cut. I never really could quite get
Yeah,
that the way
well,
one cut.
I still didn't get that. Yeah.
Well, this was quite the quick turnaround. Were you editing a lot while they were still shooting? How did you manage to cut this together in the amount of time that you had?
No sleep, pot of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, editing is hard work, and and you can't shortcut it. It's a process, because you can't know in the first day of post what you're going to know in the 10th week of post. It's a process. It's an evolution. So, but you have to put the time in it, and it's a life choice.
We oftentimes hear the film is made in the editing. That seems to be the general consensus there, as opposed to it being made in the shooting.
To a certain degree, every film's made in editing,
Yeah.
you know, that's when the magic happens. You can have nice long takes that you don't need to cut and it's fun to watch, but it's not gonna be a movie. People have tried those experiments, but this movie with this much footage, I mean, a tremendous amount, and this much of a story to tell. Yeah, it a lot. It came together in the editing. I forgot the original question.
I think it was I don't know if it
It's the
was-
final rewrite, but you know,
Right.
you have to have the material in terms of. I mean, you can make. I think as an editor, you can make a good movie great or a great movie good.
Right.
But you can't make you can't make bad footage great. And so there's you know, you need
Right.
the whole part of it, all the elaboration.
I guess what I meant was, when you're writing the script and when you're going through pre-production and when you're actually shooting, you have this idea of the movie in your mind, and then of course you actually see the footage and you have to make something out of it.
Right, and it changes
Right.
how you do things, yeah.
Does it become something that you never thought it could be, or something different from what you thought it could be?
It depends. So certain movies become something different than you expected, and they're great. And other movies are exactly what you expect. I mean, I think this movie, we did justice to the script. And I think that's a phenomenal thing because we started out with a great script. So, I mean, there have been movies that are so different than what the original concept was, and I still thought the movie was great. So this movie, I think, you know, we did justice to the screenplay, and that's the best we could have hoped for.
And what does Catherine Bigelow give you as a director to help you along here? What kind of distinguishes her?
A lot of freedom, and a lot of enthusiasm. She's very clear what she likes, what she doesn't like, what she's trying to accomplish with the sequence. Even if she's confused or doesn't know exactly how to accomplish something, she's sort of headlong trying things. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And then she very much tries to, and is successful at, imbuing you with her enthusiasm, and then you just go riding off and try to do a lot of heavy lifting and get it the way she wants it. That didn't come out right.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks.
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.